Last night, you spent 2 hours deciding what to wear to the party. This morning, it'll take you 2 minutes to list it on Depop and make your money back. Just grab your phone, snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. The sheer dress and platform heels you'll never wear again? There's a birthday girl searching for them right now. Your one and done look is about to pay for your next night out. Or at least the ride home. Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our mom sense and dad sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and I've had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton. It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to That's Total Mom Sense. I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta, journalist, podcast host, and mom of 3. Today, we're talking about something many parents experience, but few openly admit. It's the burnout, stress, and pressure to keep overachieving while juggling all the balls that we have in the air. Joining me is Dr. Rachel Goldman, a nationally recognized clinical psychologist, cognitive behavioral therapist, and author of this book, When Life Happens. We're both moms of young kids, navigating our careers, visibility, and the emotional weight that comes with everything, especially being a woman. So today's conversation is about the tools that we should have in our toolkit, thanks to Dr. Rachel, on how to manage life. Dr. Rachel, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I want to share how she and I met because we're in the same circles, and I feel like that's its own really special connection that you look for when you're going into a room and you're like, I have a friend. And this is at the Mental Health Coalition that Kenneth Cole leads, Meta's Parent Network, Hello Sunshine, Shine Away, Mom 2.0. So we are in many of the same sandboxes, and it's awesome.
I know. It's so nice whenever I see your name listed on the speaker list. I'm like, yes, I know somebody. Yes. And we're so similar and going through so many similar things. So it's always just so warming, to see your name and then to see your face.
Yes.
When we get there. I remember seeing you at Shine Away and like, yes.
Right. And being from the tri-state, it's like,
yes.
we're here in LA. It's totally different. I want to give love to your mom. It's Auntie Sherry.
Yes.
We're doing it. Okay, let's get into a little bit of your backstory because I'm curious. I've never asked you this. What led you to the career path that you have now as a clinical psychologist and therapist?
And it's a story, and it involves my mom, actually.
Yes. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
So it's funny. My mom is not a psychologist, but she majored in psychology.
Okay.
And growing up, I always heard her talk about that she majored in psychology. And we are very similar, as
yes,
you know.
Yes,
and
my mom actually has her PhD in psychology, and she was a professor.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that.
Yes.
Oh
and
gosh.
I'm with you because it was like Freud, Pavlov's dogs. Like, why do we know this as kids?
But the funny thing is, I didn't want to do psychology because she majored in it.
Yes.
So from day one, I said, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, but I know I don't want to do psychology.
Okay.
I want nothing to do with psychology.
Okay. So you're just charting your own path.
Exactly. I was like, nope, not going to do that. So I actually danced when I grew up as a hobby, and I knew that I never was going to make a career out of it, but I really enjoyed it. So I never took a psychology class. Like even in high school it was offered. I'm like, nope, not taking that class. Okay. So when it came time to like apply to colleges, I wanted to do something with dance, but not as a career. Mm-hmm. So there's a school in Maryland called Goucher College, a small liberal arts college known for dance actually. And I went there for something called dance science. So it was kind of like pre-med and dance put together to be like a physical therapist for dancers.
Wow.
So I went there my freshman year. But because I grew up in a small town, kind of in the middle of nowhere in Maryland, although it was a Brooklyn home in the middle of nowhere in Maryland, right. I was never witnessed or exposed to the eating disorders. Mm-hmm. So although I grew up dancing, there was never pressure. There was never any external pressure or pressure in the home to be a certain shape or size or weight, even being a dancer.
Yes.
But going to a school that was predominantly women and dancers, I was really exposed to witnessing a lot of disordered eating and eating behaviors. So I remember calling my mom and being like, I don't know what's going on, like what's going on with these girls, and just sharing some things that I noticed. And I became very interested in studying eating disorders. Mm-hmm. So gratefully, thankfully, I never experienced any of it myself, but I witnessed it and observed it. And I decided, I remember it was that summer after my freshman year, and I said, you know what, I'm going to apply to the University of Maryland, a larger school that has a larger psychology department. If I get in, amazing. I'll transfer and go into psychology. And if I don't, I'm happy here.
Right.
And that just kind of started everything. I transferred. I found a professor at the time that was studying eating disorders. I hooked up with her, started doing research, started really becoming interested in the mind-body connection, connected with a health education professor also, and took all these nutrition classes and stress management classes and psychology classes, and just kind of one thing led to another. And I loved the work that I was doing and loved, as my mom even says growing up, I always asked why.
Yes.
I was like a very curious child. So psychology makes sense.
Right.
You know, I kind of didn't want to acknowledge it, I think, when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then things just kind of started happening. I realized I don't want to necessarily work with individuals currently struggling with eating disorders like in an inpatient setting, but I wanted to help more of the average person, because I really do believe that most people struggle with body image, weight, shape, size, their relationship with food at some point in their life.
Absolutely.
And I felt that would be more useful. So then I kind of shifted and got away from more like specific eating disorders and getting more into the treatment of obesity or disordered eating behaviors.
Yes. Wow.
I know, such a story.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And we have so many common threads there. More than half of my family went to UMCP. That's University of Maryland.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I knew that.
Yes. And I grew up in Gaithersburg. So
I did know that.
Yes.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I love the campus. It's like so idyllic, you know, a beautiful college experience that you can have. And yeah, I think with disordered eating, we all have been in it somehow. I remember, you know, I also danced, but it was Indian classical dance, and I would compete in pageants. And so I saw it too, and I got sucked in also. You know, there were times where I was like, maybe I'm going to try this throwing up after eating thing. And I did it a few times in college, and my roommate, Shanaz, if you're listening, thank you for helping me, was like, what's going on? And it ended right then and there. But yeah,
the support.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes you're just curious. You're like, how is everybody else doing it? And maybe I should just take a cue. And then it can get so consuming.
Yeah.
So I love that you've helped patients like that and have created a framework around it. I want to give a shout out to your interview on Mel Robbins' podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. It's such a huge feather in your cap moment.
Thank you.
And it was about that. So if you want to, you know, learn more from Dr. Rachel on stress eating, emotional eating, something that we all go through, definitely check that out. And yes, and let's touch on it a little bit. Like, why do we feel like such an attachment to our looks and our bodies, and it's never enough, you know? Because going back, I think of like, I'm in my 40s now. Even in my 20s, I was like, I have a little punch. And, you know, you never felt happy. And then I look back at those
The photos, right?
Photos, those Polaroids with the thin eyebrows. And I'm like, I had, like a flat stomach. What the hell was I thinking back then?
Right. And it's so common. What you just described, I hear all the time.
Yeah.
People are always looking back at photos. And there's like a saying, I think I used to have a magnet that said this, that said like, I wish I looked as thin as I looked when I thought I was fat or something like that. Like I don't, right. Yes. I didn't have the magnet, but I remember seeing it somewhere and it really stuck because actually I think a friend sent me the photo one day of it because it's so true. In the moment, we're always picking ourselves apart. We're always analyzing everything. Something I often say is, what is the first thing you do when you look at a photo? Most people zoom in on themselves and zoom in on the flaw that they think that they have. But in reality, in 5 years from now, or like in the picture you're describing, what you really saw was the memory, the place that you were at, the laughs, the moments. So what I really like to do with my clients is remind them of that and say the next time you take a photo, try really hard. I know it's hard, but don't zoom in. Actually zoom out. And look at the whole picture and think about the moment and the emotions and what was going on, the laughter, the kids running, whatever it was.
Yes.
Because in years to come, you're not going to be zooming in on whatever it was that you thought didn't look good enough today.
Right.
You're going to be remembering those moments. And if we can do that in the moment, we're actually going to enjoy the moments more.
Yes, that's so true. Tell us about the lead up to this book, because now it's like, I'm sure you feel like it's surreal rifling through the pages, like it's here.
It's so crazy.
What inspired you to write it? And I mean, the title is so catchy.
Thank you. So the title, I actually had 2 titles written in like my notes section of some phone years ago. One of them was Training for Life, which was actually the working title that I got my book deal with.
Okay.
Eventually we realized that's kind of, they realized it's kind of too fitnessy.
You think training.
And it came because of my running.
Yeah.
And the other one was Life Happens. We added the when. So both of those titles kind of were in my notes section for years. And back in grad school, I feel like one day I was like, I'll write a book.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll write a book, whatever that means, right?
Yes.
But it was one of those things like in grad school, everyone says when they're getting a doctorate for psychology, everyone's like, I'm going to do research, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to write a book. So I kind of was like, sure, that sounds cool. Never really thought about it. I actually thought I would write like a column for a magazine. I remember getting Women's Health magazine and being like, one day I'm going to write a column and that's going to be what I'm going to do.
Right.
And then I think just throughout the years, especially with the pandemic, people really needed messages and people really needed that support and that validation.
Yes.
And I remember before the pandemic, when I worked at Bellevue Hospital here in New York City, I would, this is in the introduction actually, I think of the book, but I would see patient after patient behind closed door and realize, wow, they are having these huge aha moments in my office from this one sentence I'm saying, or one message, or my clients call them Dr. Rachelisms.
Yes.
And I was like, I want to blast them on billboards. That was my thought. I always was like, I'm going to buy a billboard and just blast my messages. When I left the hospital, that's where my Instagram account came in. And I'm like, all right, I can put them out there. Eventually, people were asking, like, where can I find the post on this or that? Or I have a wait list since the pandemic for therapy.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, where can I refer people to that's easy? So I kind of was like, all right, maybe that wish of writing a book might be something I want to work towards. And then again, I think the timing of things just kind of has to line up. There's never the right time. And I think that's an important message. But for me, I just had, maybe my youngest was like 1.5. So before that, when publishers started reaching out to me, I wasn't there. And I just was like, nope, not right now. Nope, not right now. And then one day a publisher reached out to me and I was like, maybe I could do that now.
Yes.
So I think being open to the possibility and the opportunities is really important. But looking back, it was something that was always a thought. Or as I say, a goal without a plan is just a wish. It truly was just a wish until a few years ago.
Nice, nice. Well, now let's get into it. I want to share a bit of what you talk about because there's something in these pages for everybody. So there's stress, the power of your thoughts, how to retrain your brain, and your coping toolbox, which we're going to get into, and then taking the action to make it happen and planning for your success. So let's get into overachieving and trying to do it all. And we can even double click for the parents out there because we have the humans that we are like basically at their mercy, making sure they're fed, clothed, at soccer on time and at school. And then ourselves and our own ambitions and our goals. So for those parents who are listening who are high performers, what are the early signs of someone who is experiencing burnout? Because you mentioned there's good stress, bad stress, and, we'll get into it, but it's like, when is it like, oh, whoa, this is going to turn into like a cardiac issue or a neuro issue later on?
Yeah. So regular daily stressors we all have, right? Part of life happens, stress happens, and we can't ignore that. We can't avoid it. It's how we respond or react to it. But those daily stressors with a little bit of stress management tools, with maybe taking a little bit of time off, with some self-care, that stress level comes back down.
Yeah.
When the stress level doesn't come back down and it kind of our bodies stay in that fight or flight response for more, it takes about 20 to 60 minutes for it to come back down. When it stays in that for a longer time and continues to stay there, it becomes chronic stress. That chronic stress can actually turn into burnout. So, and the way I like to describe it is burnout is like the gas tank is on empty. There's nothing left to give. There is, it's physical, emotional, complete exhaustion.
Yeah.
And like a mental health day or a weekend off or sleeping in over the weekend isn't going to cut it.
Right.
That's not enough.
Right.
For regular stress and overwhelm, that's probably what you could benefit from, right? So I think that's the difference. And then also in terms of like kind of the feelings that we start getting when it's getting to be too much, I think what people miss is that, first of all, our mind and body are connected.
Yeah.
And our body is always giving us signals. But if we're go, especially high achievers or New Yorkers, we tend to miss those signals. So, usually what I like to say is we have to take the time to turn inward. It's not like pausing and it is pausing, but it's not like it's not hours.
Right.
It's just turning inward and really asking yourselves, how am I feeling right now? Maybe even what do I need? What's working? What's not working? If we can do that and be honest to ourselves, we can actually catch it before it's there because we would know. I'd be like, oh, my shoulders are kind of hurting. My jaw is hurting.
Yeah.
What's going on? Oh, right. I had a really stressful day today and I didn't get outside to get fresh air. Or I had a really stressful day and I didn't take the break that I needed. But what happens is we ignore those signals or we're like, I got to just push through. And then we're like, when this is done, I'm going to get the break that I need and I'm going to recover. But unfortunately, that break kind of never comes because we have to create it or build it within ourselves.
Wow. Yes. Now, when it comes to building, I feel like there's an anxiety around that too, though. So help us really just navigate this because everyone knows it's like, okay, start a gratitude journal or have a meditation practice or go for a walk or take a nap or take a hot shower. Like these are my quick hacks. But like you said earlier, it's not going to cut it when you're like,
already
if you're in like hardcore burnout.
Yeah.
So what steps can we take that it's like, okay, this is really moving the needle? And a step that's not like a daily practice maybe, or I don't know, maybe it's an easier daily practice because everyone says like, I need to meditate more. But if you're a highly anxious, overachieving person, tell me to be quiet for 30 minutes with my eyes closed when I'm not actually sleeping. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I'd rather prepare for an interview or do something else.
Right. And that's the important part. Is that it can feel really uncomfortable for people if you're not used to kind of taking that time and slowing down.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you to do that, actually.
Okay, yes. I love that. Give me something else.
Yeah.
So another fix, please.
Yeah. As I say in the book, you have to know yourself to know what tools are going to work for you. So whenever people say to me, like, what's in your toolbox? I'm happy to share as examples. Mm-hmm. But what I'm going to tell you is if you're not a runner, that's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe if you want to try running, that's one thing. But for me to tell you to sit down and meditate for 20 minutes for after what you just said to me, I would be doing neither of us a service, right? Like that would not work. And instead, it's actually going to make it worse if I told you that. Because then you're going to be like, well, she says I should meditate. Right. What's wrong with me? I can't meditate. I'm a failure. And all of the thoughts would start spiraling and you'd be actually exactly where you are. Or worse in the sense of how you're feeling about yourself. Mm-hmm. So the key is to know yourself. And I like to start with actually talking about how the tools that you describe that do work for you, to actually do them more regularly.
Okay.
So not to wait until you need them. So stress management tools can actually be the exact same thing as our self-care practices.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is we pull from them when we need them is stress management.
Right.
We integrate them into our daily routine is self-care. Yes. And what that does is if you think of stress levels as a ladder, throughout the day, we are all going up that ladder, right? We walk in the door, there's an email. We walk here, there's a message. We walk here. Just things are happening all day.
Yeah.
Before we know it, especially moms, it's the end of the day. We're walking in the house or the kids are walking in the house and we haven't taken a moment to ourselves and we just like blurt out something or we're irritable or we don't have the bandwidth for it.
And sometimes the trigger is what's for dinner.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, absolutely. Like, I don't know. I just got home.
I haven't even eaten since like 2 p.m. Are you kidding me?
Right, exactly. So, and that's the thing. But if we take the moments, create moments throughout the day, what actually happens is instead of going like this, we're like, all right, now I'm here. Yeah. All right, now I'm here.
Yes.
All right, now I'm here. So what we're doing is say you're about to walk in somewhere that might be stressful. You're already back at your baseline or maybe slightly above your baseline as opposed to here. And now you're so stressed.
Right.
So the key is really that throughout the day that we are creating these moments. And again, the tool can be whatever works for you.
Yeah.
For me, it's a breathing exercise that I do in between every session or every client. Sometimes I even do it just walking to the bathroom in between sessions. I can do it while I'm cooking dinner. I can do it at different times. So that is kind of part of my routine that I built in. And then when I really need it, I might be like, you know what, I got to go take a walk. Yeah. Or I need to call my husband or my mom,
right.
You know, but I've already built in certain things throughout the day to help lower the stress level.
Yes.
So that's the first thing I would recommend.
Okay. Let's do the breathing exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walk us through it.
Yeah. So there's, again, breathing exercises, relaxation techniques. You have to think of what might work for you. So I like to teach diaphragmatic breathing, but it doesn't work for everybody. So I like to just put that out there.
Sure.
The reason I like diaphragmatic breathing is because many of us don't breathe properly when we say take a deep breath. Most people do this. And that actually just tightens everything, like if you're breathing through your chest. So we want to be breathing through our diaphragm, which is our upper abdomen. When I teach it, I say to put both feet flat on the floor.
Yep.
If you're listening and you're in the car, you don't need to do that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also say while we're practicing to put one hand on your chest and one on your abdomen. The reason for that is to just be more mindful of your chest moving less and your diaphragm moving more.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you what we're going to do before we do it. Okay. So in a moment, I'm going to have you breathe in through your nose while you're imagining a balloon in your belly expanding. It's the opposite of what you would think.
Ooh, okay.
I know, right? It's a little tough. And then you're going to breathe out through your mouth as if you're blowing out through a straw while your belly goes back in.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to do it together. Take a breath in. Belly expands. And exhale. Belly goes back in. Take a breath in. And exhale. Let's take another one. Take a breath in. And exhale. Do one more. Take a breath in. And exhale. So I want to ask you, how was that experience for you first?
Ooh, yes. I feel like a breath of fresh air made it to my head.
Love that.
It's
amazing.
up here.
So good.
Oh my gosh. It's like you're stepping outside and a nice gust of wind, but up here.
Yes.
I feel clear-headed.
Incredible. And that's probably because maybe you've probably done other breathing exercises before.
Yeah.
For some people, they say, wow, that was really anxiety provoking because they're used to breathing through their chest and this is different. And I kind of joke that the breathing in and the belly is kind of like, which one do I do when kind of thing. So it takes time.
Yeah.
Which is why if this is a tool that you want to add to your toolbox, I would say to practice it because again, you don't want to wait until you need it to be like, oh, what was that breathing exercise she said to do? What do I do?
Right.
You want to be able to pull it from your toolbox without really thinking much about it, not starting to do research on it, knowing how to do it. So you're a pro at it and it works for you in the moment like that.
Yes. I love that. So would you recommend something like that even when I'm painting a scenario, one that I see very often, when my 3 kids are late and I have to take all 3 of them to one person's practice, do a drop off to the next person's practice, and they're taking forever to put their shoes on and the loops, and it's like not even a tight tie. And I'm just like, hurry up.
Yes, that would be a great time.
Yeah,
to just
when
take
is that
a moment?
Okay.
Breathe. And then what happens is we can respond instead of react.
Yes.
Right? As much as we want to say, just hurry up, we got to go.
Yeah.
It's not really helpful for any of us. What if I said that to you? Right? Like our brain is going to be like, what do we do?
That's so true. I didn't even think about that.
I know. We all do it though. We all do it.
And you don't want to be like, oh, mommy's always yelling.
Right. Exactly. Right. But we all kind of are sometimes.
It's okay.
It's reality.
But yeah.
Yes. But in the moment.
Some days I won't.
I had to do this last night. Literally.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I just need to pause. They're having a difficult time. Me screaming, me saying hurry up is not the answer. It's actually not going to help them hurry up. Right. But if I just take a breath and maybe even be like, hey, you need some help there? Or when you're ready, I'm ready to walk out the door, right? Like kind of like a reminder, but not too much pressure.
Yes.
But we need to take that step back so we can respond and not react. So absolutely, in the moment when we are feeling anxious or overwhelmed or stressed ourselves, take that breath. And actually the kids see that, right? They feel that energy. They see that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even verbalize it.
Yeah. I'm going to take.
Yeah. I'm like, honey, I'm really stressed. Mommy's going to take a breath right now. And sometimes I'll be like, let's take one together.
Right.
To kind of model that behavior as well.
That's great. Yes. I know. Because they actually do feed off of our anxiety.
They do.
And then we need to make sure they have those tools. Speaking of which, I love that you do this with your kids, but the growth mindset tool. I think it's awesome that kids already have the vernacular, like at, first grade, second grade, they just know what it is. And I mean, acknowledging Carol Dweck, who came up with the term growth mindset. She is a very well-known American psychologist and Stanford professor. But my kids say that, and they also say the power of yet.
Oh, I love that.
Which is awesome. And that's just,
amazing.
I don't know how to do my 6 times tables yet.
Right.
I don't know how to write this paragraph yet. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I'll never forget, my son actually came home from school one day and one of his homework said to write a caterpillar thought.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, caterpillar thought. I'm like, what's a caterpillar thought?
Yes.
And I'm thinking maybe it has to do with growth mindset, but I'm like, really? In first grade, they're learning this?
Yeah.
And I Googled it, and what do you know? He learned about a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, but they call it a worm thought and a caterpillar thought.
Oh, wow.
Right? So the worm thought is the fixed mindset. The caterpillar thought that becomes the butterfly.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Caterpillar. Yes.
Is the growth mindset.
Yeah, the worm doesn't become a butterfly.
Exactly. So it was so great. And I remember messaging to the teachers, and then my son, I told him, because he's obsessed with my book. It's the cutest thing.
Yes.
I was like, honey, I'm like, you got to look. Like, mommy talks about this in her book. And he was so excited.
Oh.
But it's building. And that's one thing I like to remind people, that you don't have to be, have a growth mindset right now.
Right.
You can learn it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the best thing I think about all of the things that we talk about here, is that so much is learned, we can unlearn and learn new things.
Right.
So the growth mindset is something that I really work on with a lot of my clients. If they say things just like my son, like, I can't do this, I'm always like, you can't do this yet. Or I'm not doing this yet.
Yes.
Right. Or I'm trying my best, I'm not there yet. So kind of like thinking about that and reminding yourself, okay, I don't have to be there yet. It can be a work in progress. And it's really amazing when you have that growth mindset. It just, again, almost like with the book for me, it opens the door of the possibilities, right? If somebody was like, are you interested in writing a book? If I'm like, no, never,
right.
As opposed to maybe one day, but not today.
Yes.
And that's where I was then. Yes. And that's having a growth mindset. It's just not closing the door, not closing the opportunity, leaving it open for the maybe, the possibility.
Yes. And that's way more positive of an outlook to have.
Yeah.
I love that. So you know that I'm a chatty Cathy, and I love when you give statements in this book, because it's things that we can talk about. It's things that we can even train the voices in our head to say as reframes. And so I want you to get into that.
Yeah. So we all have thoughts, right? Lots and lots of thoughts. But some of them aren't helpful. And we all, though, have what's called the cognitive distortions. They are automatic thoughts or tendencies or patterns that we all have. And I like to emphasize that because when we start describing them, everybody's going to be like, oh no, I say that. What's wrong with me?
Yeah, that was a cognitive distortion.
Right, exactly. Nothing's wrong with you. So we all have them. And a common one is, for instance, should statements. Yeah. I should do X, Y, Z. I should do this or that. Or all or nothing thinking. Like I always fail. I never do this right. Kind of those words, always, never, gives you this signal that it's a cognitive distortion. So we all have them. The problem is that they're not helpful. What I mean by that is because our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are all linked, which is the premise of cognitive behavior therapy, because it's all linked, if we have a thought, it's going to make us feel a certain way. And if I say to you, I should go to the gym, right? I think that came up earlier when you and I were talking.
Yeah.
If we say I should go to the gym and you don't go to the gym, how's it going to make you feel?
Shitty.
Right. You're going to feel shame and guilty and probably blame yourself. Yeah. But also if I say you should go to the gym, it puts extra pressure on you.
Yeah.
Who wants extra pressure?
Yeah. It's
right now. There's enough from everybody else. Like we don't need more pressure from ourselves. Yeah. So we would know from the way that it feels that it's not a helpful thought.
True.
Because I think the first thing we need to do is identify them and then be like, that's not really helpful.
Yeah.
Once we know if it's helpful or not, if it's not helpful, we have a few choices. We can either work on changing the thought, or I like the word tweak because that's a little less overwhelming. Right. We can tweak the thought to work for us. Or we have so many thoughts every day, it's actually going to pass. Like we're going to move on and forget that we said I should go to the gym.
Right.
We'll eventually move on and forget about it. But we can decide what we want to do with it. For some people, sitting with it and moving on is fine. For other people, it becomes this thought that does play over and over in their head, right?
Yes.
Because it's their tendencies, their patterns. So if you can start identifying that you have a pattern or a tendency to use all or nothing thinking, or catastrophizing, or should statements, or a labeling, these are all cognitive distortions.
Yeah, it's all in here, yeah.
Right? There's a whole table in there. You can then figure out what makes sense.
Yes.
And then go back. And again, another CBT tool is actually examining the evidence. Where is the truth that I'm never going to get this done? Where is the truth that I should go to the gym? Who says I should go to the gym?
Yes.
And once we can examine the evidence, we can then tweak the thought or reframe the thought.
Yes.
To make it feel a little better, to make it feel more grounded, to be a more neutral thought.
Yes. So what's a good reframe for the all or nothing and the should?
So if we say, I should go to the gym, I would actually question that. Who says you should go to the gym? Do you want to go to the gym? Do you choose to go to the gym? Do you get to go to the gym? So any of those are going to feel different.
Yeah.
Right? If you say, I want to go to the gym.
I want to, yeah.
It's a little more motivating.
Yes.
It's encouraging. It's inspiring. Yeah. I should, like, I almost want to even like close my body off when I say, like, I should go to the gym. Like, just doesn't feel empowering.
Not at all.
Right? All or nothing thinking. It's funny. I actually said in the book at one point when I was talking about thoughts that I'm never going to get done writing this book. Yeah. Like I actually put it in the book as an example. I was like, I'm sitting here writing this book and I'm having this automatic thought, cognitive distortion that I'm never going to get
this done. Yeah.
And when I had that thought, I had to use my tools and I was like, okay, where's the evidence? Have I ever started something that I never finished? Probably not something like this, like maybe a small task.
Yes.
Maybe. But where's the evidence that this is never going to get done?
Right.
So then I reframed it and I was like, all right, this is really hard. I'm doing it in the in-between moments. I have young kids and all of this, and I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Did I know that I was going to finish the book? Honestly, realistically, I had no idea.
Yeah.
The deadline could have come. Maybe I would have needed an extension. Who knows? I couldn't predict the future to say, I know I'm going to finish this. So that's also not helpful. But what was more helpful was a neutral statement. Like, I'm not really sure, and I'm doing my best.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Yeah, and I'm going to try. I'm going to try.
I'm trying. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because again, we don't want to jump to the super positive or the other extreme because that could also be setting us up for failure and then not feel good either.
So I'm actually going to get a little vulnerable here. I mean, those who are closest to me know. I've never been formally diagnosed with OCD, but I am like extremely neat and tidy at home. So I have like my beds made with the karate chopped pillow, like pottery board. The kids, I go in and redo the kids' rooms. And
When I
there's
come to
never,
mine.
yeah, I know. I'd love to. In fact, I had a college roommate, Nell, if you're listening. When we lived together, I was like, you don't mind if I like make your bed and tidy up your side? Like I won't, like touch anything, but just, and she was like, yeah,
Please.
of course, totally. I was like, okay. So here I am just making her bed, hanging her clothes on the hanger. And I like things that level of organized. And there's times where I'll do it to a fault. So we could be late going somewhere.
Sure.
And I'm just like, I need to get the dishes into the dishwasher right before I leave and then I'm going to go. So what would you say to someone who's kind of battling the same thing where it's my type A coming out? And I know it comes from childhood trauma and my need for control because I didn't really have that much control as a kid. I know that where it comes from. I've been through therapy through that. But what's my CBT reframe?
Yeah. So it's challenging because I'm obviously not your therapist.
Yeah.
And this is not therapy.
Yes.
But what I would say first is it causing distress? Because that's kind of the defining factor or the defining moment of what you would do. If it's not causing distress or you did mention you're late to something.
Yeah.
So So in terms of if it's causing distress.
Like school. Like it's like I'm just like, I just want to clear up for breakfast before school.
So if it is getting in the way of your daily functioning or responsibilities, then I would say the next thing I would say. If you were like, no, I just like to do this and I'm on time. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't impact anything. I'd be like, don't change it.
Yeah. That's
it's
great.
Fine.
Yeah.
Right. It's okay.
Yeah. You're just really tidy. It's
right.
fine.
Exactly. So I do want to just mention that because not everybody who needs to have a bed made properly may want to change anything. And
Exactly.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say is, it takes practice and it takes time and it's not easy. But what I would say is to ask yourself, what's the worst thing that would happen if I left the dishes in the sink? Right. And then what I would do is take teeny steps to start exposing that.
Okay.
So for instance, I would be like, let's leave the dishes in the sink for just a minute. Right. Or like a very small amount of time.
Right.
So a treatment for OCD, again, I'm not your
I know.
Okay.
But we're friends.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I know that there's some mamas out there that might have something similar. So we're just hooking them up.
Yes. So actually an evidence-based treatment for OCD is exposure response prevention. It's exposure and relaxation coupled together.
Okay.
So like, for instance, I would never tell a client to expose themselves to like going on a plane if they're afraid of riding airplanes without having the tools to help combat the anxiety level that's going to happen, right? So you want to start very slow with exposures. And what I would do with a client is we would then say, okay, let's list what's anxiety provoking and create a hierarchy. Okay. So maybe like the dishes in the sink for you might be at a high level. Maybe clothes on the floor might be a low level. I don't know. Like we would kind of rank order them.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
And we would start with the lowest anxiety provoking one and teach you a relaxation technique at the same time. So when you expose yourself to this anxiety provoking situation, you actually have the tools to also calm yourself down.
Oh, wow.
That could be self-talk. That could be a breathing exercise. It could be a combination of it.
Yes.
But I would almost like if I was with you doing it, I would encourage you to be like, okay, I want you to just leave it for a moment. And I would even like instruct you like for 30 seconds, for a minute, but it depends on you and what your level of comfort is, right? Right. We're not going to jump right in without the tools. Yeah. So that's what we would do. But the reframe, I would almost be like to ask yourself, where's the evidence that this is a problem?
Yes.
Right. So where's the evidence is a tool in CBT. Where's the evidence that, tell me what your thought is about leaving the dishes in the sink. It's, I know it's probably a kind of distortion. But what's the thought? What's going to happen?
Right. And nothing's going to, the world's not going to implode, but it's like, it's one more thing that I have to do as soon as I come in the house. And I'm just like, I don't want to like go to the sink and clean the kitchen. I want the kitchen done so that I can go straight to work.
100%. I'm with you. I woke up this morning extra early to be able to put the dishes away from the dishwasher before anybody else was up because I didn't want to do it later.
Exactly.
Totally.
That's it.
So then my question would be, what if you do have to do it later? Or could you ask somebody else to do it?
Yeah, that's true. Everyone leaves the house at that time, so no one else could do it. And then it's something that I would, I guess, want to get done before we're back from school.
Right. But it sounds like maybe it would be like consuming your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's on the list all day. Like, I have to go home and put the dishes away. I have to go home and do this.
Yes.
Right. The reframe could be like, all right, so maybe one day I'm going to have to go home and I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And
like
rather than be late.
Right. Rather than be late.
Yeah.
And
it's not worth being late.
Sometimes being late is worth it. If it's like you're meeting a friend for coffee and you can text like, hey, I'm going to be 2 minutes late.
Right.
That might be the time that you want to put the dishes away. So then you can walk back home later and not have it on your plate.
Right.
So I think especially for moms, it comes to us thinking about what's working for me right now and what's not.
Yes.
I'm sure there's a time that that's working for you and it's serving a purpose in other ways.
Right.
But there's days, I would imagine, in any given week that it's working for you. Yeah. Because when you come home later, there's a million things to do.
Exactly.
It's done. Mm-hmm. So I think thinking about that and maybe even doing that, actually, now that I'm talking it through, I would almost even pause as you're about to do it and you're running late, be like, which one do I need right now? Do I really need to put the dishes away or do I really need to get out the door?
Exactly. They're going to get a tardy.
Exactly. Because maybe one is more important that day, but taking that moment to think about it and answering that question might help because then you can reframe while you're out the door. All right, nothing's going to happen with the dishes. It's fine. Yeah. I'm going to put it out of my mind. I'm going to put it on my list so I don't have to think about it. Yeah. Put it on my list and as soon as I get home, I'm going to do it and it's going to be done.
Great. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, I'm glad we kind of talked through it.
Thank you. That was so helpful. I'm going to text you when I'm actually doing that.
Yes. Good. Please
I'll text you my sync.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm coming back to this after 8:30. It's all good.
Yes.
I wanted to get into imposter syndrome because this is just a hot topic, especially for the women overachievers and many of the moms in our community who are speaking, they're writing books, they're always building something or they're leading. And, when you go into a room where everyone's highly accomplished, everyone feels some level of like, am I good enough? Am I supposed to be here? So how do we work through that? Because that's its own practice.
Yeah. So there's a few things I want to say. First of all, going back to our brain and the cognitive distortions, our brain is wired for survival.
Yeah.
So actually, imposter syndrome, in the way that we're talking about it right now, I have another kind of definition of it also, but the way we're talking about it right now, imposter syndrome is actually our brain protecting us. What I mean by that is that we're going to walk in that door, and if we didn't think for a moment of having a little bit of anxiety beforehand, we probably wouldn't have prepared a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a professor of mine, the first day of graduate school, actually said, you all probably have imposter syndrome right now. And I want to tell you the day you don't have it is the day you should retire.
Ooh,
right? I know.
Nice.
So what she meant by that was you need to stay up on the research. You need to stay up on your clinical practice. You need to stay up on things and remember that you don't know it all. So you need to do a little bit more. And the day you think you know it all, stop working.
Yeah, exactly.
So having that imposter syndrome is not a bad thing. It's like the good stress, actually. It gives us the good stress, which is called eustress, E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S. I always like to spell it because people are like, what's eustress?
Yeah, it's like, why you?
Right.
No, EU.
Which gives us the motivation to do a little bit more. Now, something else I want to say about that, though, is, and I can, I don't really think I get imposter syndrome, but it doesn't hold me back. So imposter syndrome can hold people back because, again, our brain is playing tricks on us and telling you, you need to survive. You're going to fail. You don't belong there. So what can you do? You can either prepare a little bit more or you're like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I don't belong there. Right. So if it's holding you back, that's where it can get tricky. And that's where then we need to start challenging thoughts. Where's the evidence that I can't do this? Things like that. I'll never forget backstage before the second time I was in Oprah's presence and about to speak with her.
Oh my gosh.
So the first time I didn't really have imposter syndrome. I wasn't feeling that anxious about it. I just had my second baby. My brain was really somewhere else, to be honest.
Wow.
The second time, I don't know if I've said this like publicly yet. I've said it like to individuals.
Yeah.
But I was very nervous, like probably the most nervous I've been about a speaking engagement.
Yeah.
And I think for multiple reasons. I did the first one. And I felt really, really good about it. Mm-hmm. People kept giving me compliments about it. And I felt like, oh my God, there's so much to like work up to now, right? Like I have to show up the way that I showed up for that one.
Yes, and knock it out of the park. It's
exactly.
Oprah.
So there was this extra pressure. And the second one was with like 12 celebrities, comedians, and then me and another medical doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was a lot of pressure and I was very nervous. And I remember being backstage and she said to us right before it started, like kind of in little small groups, she said to us, "You are here for a reason. I asked you to be here. No matter," like I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
No matter what I ask you on that stage, make sure you get the message across that you're here to say and to give. And ever since then, every time I'm backstage with a group of people, it just happened the other day on the Today Show.
Yes.
I was with 2 other people. They were so nervous. And I said, I want to tell you something. And I said, I'm going to tell you something Oprah said to me. And every time I share this story, it just immediately calms people down. And they're like, oh my God, I'm here for a reason.
Right.
Now get your message across. Yes. Because if you're in your head thinking I don't belong here, and you're so nervous and so anxious, you're going to forget the message you even came to share.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to share that because it really has been like a defining moment for me that, again, I don't get that nervous, but I always just remind myself I was asked to be here for a reason. Maybe I don't know the reason.
Yeah.
But I was asked to be here. I belong here.
You belong
right.
here. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
And I think we can all hang on to that anytime we're feeling clammy in a room and, with all these accomplished people. It's like, it's exactly what we should be thinking about.
Exactly.
I am so glad that we got to dive into this very, very helpful self-help book. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with and your message as we close?
Thank you. I like to just always remind people that life is tough and there's ups and downs. And just because you might be struggling now doesn't mean that it always has to be that way. And there are tools, there's help available, there's professionals. So, just remind yourself that whatever you're doing right now is enough and that's okay.
Thank you. We are enough. And congratulations, Dr. Rachel. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of That's Total Mom Sense. You can listen to the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for That's Total Mom Sense. You can learn more about my guests by logging on to www.thatstotalmomsense.com. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, where I'm most active on social media. My handle is @Kanika Chadda Gupta. And if you have ideas for show topics or guests you can't wait to have on the show, write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com. And lastly, please rate, review, and subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense if you haven't already. Thanks for being in my tribe.